This call is now being recorded.
And I'm here with Bucky Covington.
How about yourself?
Doing great, doing great. So tell us a little bit about how you became familiar with country music and who were some of your earliest influences?
Let's see. How I became familiar with country music, I think that comes down to probably 4 words. George Strait in the movie Pure Country. I was a huge fan of that movie. If you've never seen it, it was a great movie. George Strait played a guy named Dusty. From there on, I bought the album, and then I think Garth Brooks came in right behind that, Billy Ray Cyrus behind that, then Tim McGraw. Probably the early to late 90s is when I started really getting into, or probably early 90s I started getting into country music. And I believe it was a great time for me. Of course, since I got into it, I went back and started listening, more to the 70s and 80s and all. Since I got into it, I went back and started listening, more to the 70s and 80s and all that of country music. But it was probably early 90s that I started really getting involved with it.
So, for you, 2005, 2006 season of American Idol. Tell us a little bit about what that experience was like.
Man, that was like none other. I got to be honest with you. It was an awesome experience. But American Idol was, it really gave an opportunity to, folks out there. It was before YouTube. And just to give a little perspective to it, when I was on American Idol, MySpace was new. So Facebook hadn't even been out yet. So social media and the internet altogether was still kind of a newer thing. At that time, American Idol was huge for giving you that opportunity. For me, I thought you had to kind of know somebody, be a cousin or somebody that lives in Nashville to go to Nashville and really get something done. But American Idol, it gave extreme amateurs a way to put a name with a face with a sound. Very grateful for it.
So what would you say drives you to sing country music?
What drives me to sing country music? I used to do rock bands and stuff like that. When I first got into music, and I do love rock music. I love all kinds of music, really. But I was in rock bands, and I remember there was a lot of songs that I would sing, but I didn't know what they were about. Rock music, I write a lot more, more in kind of a poetry style, and things like that. But country music, when I listen to country music, it's straight up. I mean, it's what I grew up doing. I believe Trace Atkins has got a song that probably nails it the best. Their songs about me. So that's probably the reason that what really got me involved.
That's great. That's great. So what would you say has been the most memorable experience for you so far, or one story that sticks out to you?
Let's see. Through music, if you go through life, my goodness, birth of my daughter would definitely be top of all. But when it comes to music, there's so many things that I've really got to do. From just hanging out with different artists, different NASCAR drivers, actors. I've had the opportunity of hanging out at Billy Bob Thornton's house and drinking Corona Light with him. I've sat beside a piano with Stevie Wonder. I was on stage with Queen. So there's been, it's hard to say, it was, you got guys that you really idolize, actually come up and call you by name because there you are. So, little things like that are a big deal, so, it'd be hard to pinpoint, one memory.
So that had to be a cool experience, getting to stand beside Stevie Wonder. Tell us a little bit about that.
That's something else, that happened when I was actually on the show American Idol. He came by and it was, the mentor, one week. And, when it's happening, you're so busy and so caught up in everything. It's hard to really, put down at the time that's happening. It's hard to really take it all in. It's probably a couple years later that it hits you and you go, man, that is something else. How often do you get out? There's a lot of big artists out there who've never had an opportunity like that. So, it's a couple years later when everything tends to slow down just a little bit before you start regrouping and start really realizing, everything you went through. But, it was definitely surreal, man. I mean, you're talking about it's one thing to be a legend. It's another thing to be a living legend. And I would definitely say Stevie Wonder, was living legend.
Yes, and he has so many incredible songs out there. Did you have a opportunity to share a song with him?
Absolutely. I did Superstition, the very superstitious. He played it on the piano and I sat beside him and sang it. And, so yeah, that was, absolutely surreal.
And it's something that, even like myself, after you sit beside some of those legends like we've had Randy Travis on the show, and it was just after he released his brand new book, Forever and Ever Amen. It was just surreal. It's like you're in that moment, and then to go back and hear that interview again, you're like, wow.
Absolutely.
So you have a great new song out called Driving in the Dark. Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, thank you very much. Driving in the Dark is a song that I wrote and produced. I was kind of going after a 90s sound with it, so I actually went into like I said, that's when I really got into country music. So I went to a studio and got a lot of the guys that were just killing it in the 90s. So we went in the studio, we got that, and just had a great sound to it. And then I took it to I took this on probably to three or four different studios to get the sound I was looking for, and we finally I think we nailed it. It came out great. I'm actually in a movie. I shot a movie at the beginning of last year called Brother's Keeper, starring Lawrence Fishburne. It's about a football. It's kind of like a football movie out of Abilene, Texas. Had a great time shooting the movie, and I have a very small role in the movie. Towards the end of the movie, I got a small role, and I was also able to get this song, Driving in the Dark, in the movie as well. So if you'd like to get the movie is not out yet. It's called Brother's Keeper. But if you'd like to see, if you will, like a movie trailer for it, you can go to YouTube and watch the new video I put out, Driving in the Dark, and it's pretty much like a movie trailer to the movie.
Wow. So you've had some incredible experience so far. What about a good, funny story?
A good, funny story? Oh, my goodness. The bad thing about funny stories is most of them you can't tell on public. But, one time I actually was doing a show out in Ohio. I have an identical twin brother, and by the way, when we do the Facebook Live stuff, he's the drummer in my videos is my identical twin brother. His name is Rocky. Rocky's been on the road with me for years. And we used to ride street bikes all over the place. We'd had the tour bus and we had two sport bikes in the back of the trailer. So we were out riding around one day, and this was before the show. We're out riding around, and we're going down the interstate somewhere outside of Ohio, in the middle of nowhere, by the way. My bike just and that's it. It is flat out of gas. We're rolling about 80 mile an hour down the interstate, and I just run out of gas. So I got my brother's attention, actually. He slowed, we ended up slowing down to about 60, before we could get everything done, but he reached back with his left arm. I reached up with the right arm and grabbed him, and he pulled me for 5 miles until we saw a gas station. So, that's one of the neat road things you run into. There's nothing like having car or motorcycle issues when you have no idea where you're at.
Sounds like a redneck way of motorcycle towing. Is that what you were talking about?
That's exactly what it was. The good thing was, because he pulled me, we did make the show and we made it on time. Bad thing was he was a terrible drummer that night because I wore his arm out for 5 miles.
Well, in situations like that, you just have to say, well, we just did it the best we could.
Hey, the show must go on.
That's right. So you were talking about a new song that's coming out, and you talked about the Driving in the Dark. So what are some new things coming up for Bucky Covington?
Well, as of right now, we got the new movie due out. The movie Brother's Keeper is actually due out, I believe it towards the fall of this year. The video we just released, I don't know, a couple weeks, 2-3 weeks ago. So we just put that out. We've got new music. Of course, we're still working on the album. Again, I'm doing the album just different. For the longest time, you can say I'm kind of going back to the 50s with it. For the longest time, we always put out a song, and then we seem to put an album right out behind it. And I feel like I'm doing things different. I'm going to put out a handful of songs, and then I'm going to take those songs and put them on an album. So the album we're still putting together. We got some other movies that we're also in the works with, and then, of course, we're always recording and writing new music. So we'll be picking the next single. I haven't picked the next single just yet because we just released this one, but I do have my eye on one that I hope that we end up picking.
So on this new album, is there more covers than originals, or more originals than covers?
Definitely more original, excuse me. I've done a lot of writing on this album. Of course, I've been producing everything for the last couple of albums. But yeah, this one's got a lot of songs that I actually personally am a writer on.
So what would you say inspires you to write a song?
Oh my goodness. It comes from all different areas. Just sometimes you have inspiration, sometimes the inspiration is, driving in the dark. It's about just doing something blindly, like blind love, if you will, the Bonnie and Clyde story, just boom, go. Is this the right thing? I don't know. It feels good. Let's do it. You got stuff like that. Sometimes it's a bass or a drum beat that comes in your head. So there's all kinds of different ways that springs an idea. Sometimes a melody shoots in your head. Sometimes it's an idea of a story. So there's all, life. Life is definitely, if you go back and listen, I have a song that I just released called Probably Won't, was the single right before this one. And it's about life. You go through things, people, relationships, start, relationships end, so, just life altogether, having children, can't have children, having a brand new baby, losing someone very special to you. So there's all kinds of reasons that spark a song idea.
Well, Bucky, tell our listeners to close out the interview how they can find out more about you or how to buy your new single that's out.
Well, of course, the single is available everywhere music is sold, iTunes, and of course, all our videos are up on Bucky Covington on YouTube. And then check out the Facebook page. Of course, we're doing a lot of Facebook Lives here lately, so about the only kind of shows we're doing lately are these. So we're still playing with them. Actually, we're kind of full banding them, so we're having a good time with them. So check out my Facebook page, find out when the Facebook Lives are coming on, and hop on there, request. Tell me we're terrible. Tell me we're great. Request a song.
Well, Bucky, it's been an honor, and I hope you'll come back with us and join us sometime.
Well, thank you very much, man. I sure appreciate you talking with me.
All right. You have a good day now.
See you, brother.
Bye-bye.